know we breaking that black barrier every single day, every weekend, 24/7. It does not matter.
Tell them what breaking the black barrier mean, man. What
Come
they
on,
look
man.
like,
What is
man?
black, man?
What is black?
Copper Color Productions, man.
Huh?
The Copper Color King Cash Moles and Money, man. Let's get it.
Black King, stand up. For understand what black is. It's the essence, it's the culture. We've been on this earth, you heard? The Bronx was called for Apache. Huh? The Bronx was called for Apache, man. Oh, last breed, bro. We bringing it back, last breed.
Really forever flying in this bitch, man. For the ancestors, baby. For all the ancestors out there, baby.
Gotta be extremely patient with this one, man. I hope you folks, those who are tuned in, I hope y'all enjoying those copper colored beats, man. I tell y'all, them tunes, man, they just make my day. I just be chilling, listening to some good old copper color manifestations, reading these books, doing this historical research, so that when I come to the channel, I'm 100% prepared to deliver some great information. And what we have today, mark my words, some real great historical information. And there's several reasons why this stuff is great, right? Well, the main reason is because people don't know or understand how ancient and how holy America truly is. See, that's my main reason for dodging that African hijack, because a part of that comes from not appreciating the land that we live on. This land is filled with so much interesting history and beautiful vegetation, from the tall trees to the Grand Canyon to the American desert, right, to the Appalachian Mountains, to the Northwest, the Niagara Falls. We got so much over here to brag about. But for some weird reason, I find it hard to meet people who actually appreciate the land for what it's truly worth. And this is why I admire the mound builders. I admire the mound builders. I envy the mound builders. Honestly, it's 2024. Before I'd be an American, I would rather be a mound builder. And I love who I am. Especially where I come from, like I said. But see, these dudes here, man, these people, right, this mixed up group of people, they've created things on this land that still exists. You just have to excavate and dig deep just to find it, right? They've lived hand in hand with several different animals on this land. One of the most interesting ones to me is the Mastodon. Right, they've planted several different crops. Right, they was out here smoking tree before a tree could be smoked. You know what I mean? They've dealt and planted several different fruits. They've ate many different foods. Like I said, America is a melting pot of mixing groups of people. And if you've been following my channel, we just covered the Tartars in America, the history of the Inca, tribes of the Tartary, tribes of Tartary here in America, right in the North America, South America, and Central. They got them in Mexico. They found them in Ptolemaco, Florida, Natchez, Louisiana, Peru. And there's many different similarities between these ancient Incas and the tribes of Tartary, and even with the Mongols. Check out the video, man. Yeah, I wouldn't want to miss that one, because a part of that plays a huge role into this mound builder stuff. Because what they say in the book is that these Incas, they were builders, right? Allegedly, there was no buildings or castles or monuments, pyramids, anything like that, other than the pyramids in the valley, right? Halito family, what it do? Chicken stew. But yeah, They said that it was no pyramids. I mean, it was pyramids, but they were little to no buildings, right, in South America prior to the arrival of the Inca. So basically, when the Inca came, that's when you had the foundation of these many beautiful temples. Many different beautiful temples. I got a picture of one in my phone. I should have brought it up to the live stream, but it's a temple in Florida, Tolomeco, and they label it a mosque. They called it a mosque. This is a mosque in the 1400s. Right? Many different interesting stuff, man. That's why I say, man, I envy these mound builders. So what they had going on was different. But I want to talk a little bit about these mastodons, right? See, for me, what makes this stuff all the more interesting is because in school, we don't learn about the mastodon, right? We learn about the African elephant and the woolly mammoth, you know, that existed around the time of the Ice Age. But you see, people don't remember, right? People don't know. I wouldn't say remember, they don't know that the peoples who inhabited America or who traveled into America traveled with these animals alongside them. One specifically, like, we could take it back to it. I could show y'all. Before I even show y'all this one is for all my New Yorkers. But right, yeah, when the Mongols and the Tartars came to the Americas, they brought elephants with them. And not only that, there were already remains of mastodons here in America. Already. The mound builders could have some ties to the tribes of Tartary. They could have some ties, right? Just like how they could have some ties to the Maya people, the people who looked up to the Maya god from Egypt, right? But we all know that America is home. All of that stuff comes here from America. So we could talk about this stuff all day, the correlations, the different groups of peoples, man. Check out the first 2 videos I did on the Mound Builder series, man. We speak about it in the book. They give us all the facts that we need to hear. And then I also talk about several other different books in some of my other videos that actually tie a lot of this stuff together. But make sure you check out this one, man. The one on the Tartars, man. Check that one out. And the Incas, because that's some fire. But yeah, moving forward. Now, for my New Yorkers, man, I want people to understand. Like I said, we be so busy living a fast life. You know, we don't get time to take that. We don't get a chance to take time and embrace the land that we live on. I took a ride up to Scarsdale not too long ago. Scarsdale, New York. And what I've seen is so far different from what you see here in the city. I mean, it practically looks like mounds, earthworks in the dirt. And what we know about the mounds is that these burial grounds consisted of a lot of these mastodon bones. So here they mention the Hyde Park Mastodon. And this is 13,000 years later, right? This is the Hyde Park Mastodon. And what it says, right? 20 years ago this month, staff and volunteers from the Paleontological Research Institution were engaged in one of the most exciting and consequential scientific events most of us had ever experienced. Excavating the skeletons of an American mastodon, a Mammut americanum, from a pond in the village of Hyde Park in the Hudson River Valley of New York. They excavated mastodon bones, Hyde Park Valley, New York. Right here in New York. Under our, just chilling right under our noses, right? These group of archaeologists, right, when excavated the land, and then look, the bones, obviously it just goes to the museum. They bring it right back to the museum, you know. But they found the upper and lower forelimb bones, let's see, right? It says, I received a call from Larry in the fall of 1999, right in the middle of another Mastodon excavation. John Chimmet, an instructor in Cornell's Department of Earth and Atmospheric Sciences, was engaged in excavating a site in Chemung County, New York, about 40 miles from Ithaca, between Elmira and Watkins Glen. This site was producing a puzzling mix of bones that turned out to be from both mastodon and mammoth. Two different animals, right? So, just to debunk your history teacher, when they tell you that, you know, the woolly mammoth or the African elephant, like, you know, that their origins are in Canada or from Alaska or from Siberia or from Africa, we have to understand mastodons, right? The mastodons were here in America. They were here in America, right? Chilling, cooling, with the many different copper-colored peoples, you know, here in America. Chilling, making babies, fighting, getting hunted, you know, stuff like that. Things that you wouldn't even see in America today. That's why I say we got to learn to appreciate the history, because see, you go to Africa or you go to Asia and you could wander around and see these animals roaming in their habitats, right? Lions, elephants, right? Roaming in their habitats. But when you come to America, there's not one place, at least to my knowledge, where you can find a mastodon, right? The straight up disrespect that our people, or I won't say our people, that American history has dealt to these mastodons is crazy, bro. It's crazy. You know, they disrespect them the same way they disrespected us. And the mastodon is a part of our history, right? It's a part of our history. But yeah, Hyde Park, New York, they excavated these mastodon bones, right? Look how gigantic they are, right? And they brought them back to the museum, all in this one spot. See, but what's crazier to me too, though, right, is scientists themselves don't even know how old these creatures actually are. The dates, you see how they predate them? Look, check this out. It says, all that research revealed much about the life in the world of the Hyde Park mastodon. The skeleton turns out to be one of the most complete and well-preserved specimens of an American mastodon ever found, missing only a few small bones to the tail, sternum, and right forefoot. He, for comparison of tusk size with modern elephants, pointed it to being a male. Died approximately 13 years ago. These folks is saying that bones, right, bones from 13,000 years ago were well preserved. This is why I say they dating, the way they date things be so out of whack. It'd be so crazy, because there's no way on earth where bones, right, 13,000-year-old bones would be able to preserve themselves for that long. At least to my knowledge. Like, if somebody know otherwise, please drop in the comments and prove me different. They dating be crazy. These mastodons, they existed way after 13,000 years ago. It's just, you know, for some weird reason, stuff like this has to be removed from our history. And like I said, it's for whatever weird reason. Like, you know, we would never know. You know, but look, it died approximately 13,000 years ago, probably in the spring or summer of his 36th year. His death may have been caused or hastened by one or more wounds received during mating battles with other males. He ate a lot of spruce, which was abundant in the environment in which he lived. the environment was cooler than at present in the mid-Hudson Valley, more like northern Quebec today. The peat bog in which he was finally attuned was also a home to ostracods, clams, snails, and many species of plants and fungi. The Hyde Park Mastodon was a huge accomplishment for PRI in science, education, and as a permanent exhibit. Made possible by the generosity and hard work of many people, it continues to teach and inspire 2 decades later. Today, more than 30,000 visitors each year look at the Mastodon skeleton in the Museum of Earth and are brought closer to the reality of the dramatic changes that have taken place in the spot where they are standing over just the past few thousand years. New York once roamed by herds of elephants, which became extinct abruptly around 10,000 years ago, at the time of changing climate and growing human impact. It is a messenger from not so distant but very different past, an icon of the Ice Age that speaks to us about our present and our future. Cap that. Because they were already here. And they were all in all parts of the Americas. All parts. Right? Has nothing to do with them existing during the Ice Age. They existed before and after. Straight up. Animals adapt to climate too. Just like how humans can possibly do it, animals can do it very well as well. But yeah, enough about that. I wanted to show you guys, right, this video. See, like I said, these creatures, these mastodons, were very, 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 very important, you know. A lot of people fantasized over them. A lot of people were interested in them. Why? Because they played a huge role in American history, right? Something about these majestic animals just have the words fascinating written all over them. Extremely fascinating because wow, right? You look at the elephant today, you'd be like, Jesus Christ, that thing is huge. Well, a mastodon, which could have been probably twice as big, an extremely long tusk, that woolly fur, right? We have presidents who jacked off in the bathroom to the thoughts of mastodons, these weirdos. Right, check this out. Listen to this clip.
You know about the U.S. president who was absolutely obsessed with the American mastodon? That was Thomas Jefferson. Thomas Jefferson was just obsessed with prehistoric creatures in general. He had a lot of fossils in his own little personal collection. In fact, he's the one who described the giant ground sloth known as Megalonyx. That's why its species name is Jeffersoni. That's just crazy. But what's really important is that he didn't actually think that they were extinct. Him and many others at the time did not believe that a species could simply just disappear. So what he believed...
Look, right there. Right, they didn't just die off the way these people make it seem, like boom, oh, extinct 10,000 years ago. It ain't like that. Yeah, they could have died off, but these things happen way more recent than what we actually think.
Was that they were finding recent bones of these animals, and they simply just had yet to be found out there in the wild, specifically out in the American West. He believed that they were still out there, and again, they just had to find them. So when the Louisiana Purchase eventually happened, and Lewis and Clark were, tasked to go on their very famous expedition, he personally got with them and gave them the personal mission to keep an eye out for such creatures, keep an eye out for giant sloths, or keep an eye out for the American mastodon, the North American elephant, as they so believed. So of course, Lewis and Clark did keep an eye out for such animals, but as we all know, they came back empty-handed and they found no evidence of such animals existing. That's just a little fun fact that I wanted to talk about real quick. Do you know about the U.S.?
Crazy though. It's crazy. They would say these things died off, like I said, but that's not how it works. It's not how it works. A lot of these animals, right, were shipped off across the seas, right, to places like Africa and Asia, some to Europe. Right, there was a business market for animals once upon a time, but that doesn't defeat the purpose that these Mastodons lived with our ancestors thousands of years ago. Check this next clip out. Listen to what they say, and this is very important.
While digging into a Florida pond, a man noticed something unusual in the bucket of his backhoe. Closer inspection revealed the object that caught his eye was a human skull, and that there were more skeletal remains amongst the material he dug up.
Dr. Joe Lorenz of the Coriell Institute in Camden, New Jersey, is performing brand new analysis of the brain DNA, using techniques no one had access to back in the 1980s. Lorenz is re-examining sections of DNA called haplogroups in the brains of 5 Windover people. He's looking for haplogroups found only in native North Americans, because finding them would corroborate all previous work.
When I sequenced larger fragments and I was looking for the sites that I know are characteristic of Native American haplogroups, I was surprised because I did not find them. I did not find them. I did not find.
He said that the bones he discovered in Florida were not in correlation to any Native American haplogroups. Let's remember, Native Americans are these people. You know what? I'm gonna get even in more detail for y'all, right? Giving even in more detail. We're gonna come back to this video. I got one for y'all. Right, just give me a minute. Look at these lovers, right? And shout out to them, man. Shout out to them because, not gonna cap, you know, they're very cultural over there in Siberia, right? Siberia, these people being the descendants of the Mongols and the Tartars, right? I'm gonna have another one dropping real soon to explain to you guys how those people were of many different skin complexions, many different. But most of them look like this and dress like this. Right now we know these Native Americans are closely related to these Mongols, these Siberians, shall I say, and their beautiful culture. Just look at the way they dress. Right, this is the Native American haplogroup that the brother is referring to. And he's saying that the folks who were here in America, they couldn't find no links to any Native Americans.
I was surprised because I did not find them. I did not find them. I did not find them.
We know the truth now here. In 1982, a backhoe operator found a human skull that was 7,000 years old. But check this out. The DNA in these skulls did not match Native American DNA. And also, it had a low volume of European DNA. These bones are 2,000 years older than the Egyptian pyramids, buried elaborately. So if these are not Native American bones and European bones, we know what kind of people they were. Indigenous, melanated Americans. We know the truth now.
Shout out, we know the truth now. Shout out to Bro God, man. He just dropped a bomb. If they ain't Native Americans, right? And they not European, right? Which would be, right, Asiatic, even though we have Asiatic Negroid peoples and Caucasoid, then who would they be? They would be Negroids, right? Right? These Mastodons was out here chilling with the homies while they was smoking the peace pipe. As a matter of fact, they had smoked the peace pipe, then go run down on the Mastodons. Like, yeah, come here. We got one. We got one, but yeah, man. This is even more important because, like I said, America is a melting pot. These are the people, right, that we see today that are Native Americans. These are the people, I promise y'all. These are their mother cultures. Right? These are their mother cultures. These ain't the mound builders. These ain't our copper colored brothers and sisters. It's crazy though, because the Inca, I didn't even know you was in this bad boy, Fox and Socks. What it do? Chicken stew. Bro, headlights is crazy, right? But and I'm not trying to throw no shade, right? But they also brought syphilis over here. They also brought syphilis over here. Yeah, they also brought syphilis over here. What it do, chicken stew though, family, man? We in this bad boy. Stay in tune, bro. This one is gonna be a good one. Right, but yeah, man, the Koryak people of Siberia, those are the folks who these Native Americans have relations to, right? But not to drift too far away, let's get back into the bad boy, man. Mound builders, their works and relics. What do we have, man? We in chapter 3. I done went and read ahead, and I've read some other books too. I've been reading a lot, just reading. One that I have coming soon, right, is the origins of the Tartars. Scythia, the Scythians, right? The sons of Japheth. The sons of Japheth. And the Scythians and the Tartars, and how Japheth's sons, you know, if for those who know about the Bible story, you know that Japheth and his folks, they are invaders. So they invaded the some of the Tartar tribes, right, and created tribes out of them, such as the Huns, right, and many more. I'm still reading to get a better understanding of what was going on, but those Tartar tribes were basically running away from those invaders. And while they were already over there remaking the society to fit the description of what it is today, those Tartar tribes were finding homes here in America. And they make a lot of references to them being of a swarthy skin complexion, darker skin tone, darker ignorant races, using terms like that to refer to some of these Tartarian tribes. And Manco Capac, the king, the first emperor of the Inca, was a descendant of the Tartars. A descendant of the Tartars. So going into the Mound Builders book, right, one thing that, like I said, I want to make important is that these Tartarian tribes, right, these people were builders. A lot of them were builders, great builders of infrastructure. And they were more likely known to dwell within regions where these Mastodons were. Right? So bringing that information into this book, we understand now. We know the truth now. Not saying the mound builders are of Tartarian descent, but they could have been mixed in. Multiple different peoples in one body of land, like I said. But let's continue, man. Let's read. Let's see what we got. So, chapter 3. The Mound Builders and the Mastodon. One of the first questions asked of the archaeologists concerning the mound builders is, what was their probable age? The question is a very natural one, but in the form generally given exhibits a misunderstanding of the general subject. It implies that the mound builders were all one people, and that they spread over the continent at a particular and definite time. We have already shown that there were many classes, right? Many classes of mound builders, and that there were different periods of time, a succession of population being one of the plainest facts brought out by archaeological investigation. The answer to the question is to be secured by the study of mound builders, as they appeared at different dates in the mound building period. Different groups of people invading, in and out with the old, in with the new, at different times. And they're gonna call these mound building peoples all one, but different people dwelt in different parts of the lands at different times. The age of the mound builders includes not one specific date, but covers many epochs. We maintain that there was a mound builders age in this country, and that it is as distinctive as was the Neolithic age in Europe. The Neolithic age was founded on the discovery of a certain class of relics. Relics which had a certain degree of polish and finish about them. The material of the relics making the age distinctive. Alright, so for those who don't know, we're going to go back to the definition of Neolithic. New Stone Age. Characterized by stone tools shaped by polishing or grinding. The use of stone tools is the spread of agricultural practices, use of stone tools, and megalithic architecture. This is what the Neolithic age is. So, the use of stone tools and megalithic architecture and spread of agriculture was founded on the discovery of certain classes of relics. Relics which had a certain degree of polish and finish about them. The material of the relics making the age distinctive. The Bronze Age was founded on the discovery of bronze relics in the midst of the Neolithic relics. The material and finish of the relics making them distinctive. So the mound builders age is based on the prevalence of the earth heaps which certain within them relics of a prehistoric race. The character of the relics as well as the material of which they were composed makes the mound builders age distinctive. Number 1. As to naming these periods, there is some uncertainty, but the following facts may help us to appreciate it. In Europe, the Paleolithic age continued after the close of the glacial period. It began with the gravel beds and embraced all the relics found in those beds. Extending through the period of the cave dwelling embarked nearly all the cave contents. And mind y'all, right? If you've been tuned in, we learned that these cave dwelling peoples of Europe, right, are the same people who make up the quote unquote, I just tweaked, sorry, the quote unquote Eskimo or Inuit population. So these cave dwelling people from Europe, that's what they're referring to, which could also have ties to the Scythians, ancient Scythians and Huns and stuff like that. Could have many ties to them. But like I said, let's keep in mind, these people are connected to the Eskimos of today, the Inuit of today, right? The Native Americans of today, cave dwellers, cavemen. Let's make it clear. It is divided into various epochs, which are named differently. The English named them the animals associated with the relics, into the epochs of the cave bear, mammoth, and reindeer. Right? Reindeers being closely associated with Mongols. Telling y'all that right now. With Mongols. Right? Siberia, reindeer, and places where it's snowy. The French named them after the caves in which they were found, making the name of the cave descriptive of the relics. The Chilean relics are more easily distinguished than others, and are recognized by some as belonging to a distinct period, when the mammoth, rhinoceros, and cave bear prevailed in Europe. These stand alone and belong to an earlier geological period than the rest of the cave dwellers' relics. A number of objects discovered at Mostier, at Sautré, and at La Madeleine mark a second and third period of the Paleolithic age. Paleolithic, like I said, just to understand these two terms. This is the oldest and longest part of the Stone Age, when humans used stone tools for hunting, foraging, and fishing. So Neolithic, New Stone Age, Paleolithic, Old Stone Age. I just like to keep that distinguished for you guys so that we always understand, right, the difference. And yeah, bro, Neanderthals, straight up. In America, the Paleolithic age preceded the Neolithic, as in Europe. It may be divided into three epochs: the pre-glacial, the epoch in which the relics were deposited in lows; the glacial, an epoch in which the relics were deposited in gravel; the Champlain, an epoch in which the relics were deposited upon the summit of hills and above the glacial gravels. So pre-ice age, ice age, and post-ice age. That's how they're breaking up the American Paleolithic age. Where we at? The American archaeologists named them after the character of the gravels in which they are found, as well as the character of the relics. It may be said that the subdivision of the Paleolithic age in America has not been fully established. There seems to be some uncertainty as to the French and English divisions. Naming the periods after the animals is suitable to America, though the animals would be different from those in Europe. In Europe, the cave bear, mastodon, and reindeer made the 3 epochs. In America, the megatherium, found in Brazil, the mastodon, found in the gravel beds and peat bogs, and the buffalo, now almost extinct, mark 3 different epochs. Now this part was extremely important to me because it just made me think, right? What the United States government did to the buffalo here in America to quote unquote make them extinct. Yeah, moose are indigenous to this landmass. Yes, for sure. Yes, definitely. And we could touch bases on that in a few, definitely. But thinking about it, right, the US government basically forced the buffalo to go extinct. It just makes me think, right? So this is what they do to these sacred animals, right? The megatherium, the mastodon. Like Thomas Jefferson thought, right? These things don't just die off, right? The giant sloth, they don't just die off, right? Something has to force their extinction, right? You got to remove something that helps them survive, right? And it's not like every tribe here in the Americas were out hunting megatheriums, mastodons, and buffalo, right? It was not like that, right? They like to live off the land, but the land had to live in order for them to live, right? That's truth. There's nothing but truth in that. The megatherium, giant sloth, right? These are some of the animals that Thomas Jefferson was like, nah, like I don't know how y'all saying they extinct, but I need to know how. How did it happen, right? When Lewis and Clark went on the expedition, if y'all see them, let me know, right? And they say that they ain't see them. That's the story, right? That's what they say. But let's continue. In Europe, the Paleolithic age was contained within the Quaternary period and came to an end before the beginning of the present geological period. It was followed by the Neolithic age. The characteristics of this age was that polished stone relics such as hatchets, celts, and finely chipped arrows, spearheads, and a fine class of pottery abound. Another characteristic was that mounds were common. Shell heaps marked this beginning, chambered mounds its end. The Bronze Age followed the Stone Age. This began with the lake dwellings and continued through the time of the rude stone monuments and up to the historic age. Bronze was the material which characterized the age, a material which was not made in Europe, but was brought from Asia and was recast. No less than 57 foundries of bronze have been discovered in France, and a large number in Italy. One at Bologna, having no less than 14,000 pieces broken and ready for casting. The hatchets were cast in molds, with wings for holding the handle, and many of them with sockets and eyes by which they could be lashed to the handle. The Neolithic age in America began with the close of the Paleolithic and ended with the historic period. This is so fire, right? Because this is the stuff that I'm talking about. People don't know, right? History Channel don't talk about this. They don't talk about how beautiful the Neolithic age and the Paleolithic age was here in America. How stone tools, how people use stone tools here in America to help them get by, to farm, to grow crops, you know, to live. All that here in America. So you know what that also connects us to, right? We got to think about it. Like that out of Africa stuff, man, we can't continue to connect to it. Because all that's saying is that in this part of the land, the white man came here first, and it was nothing but savages and wild cavemen running around without no sophisticated style of society. When in all reality, the same way they was over there getting things together in they land, we was over here cooking with hot grease, building, right? Using stone tools, figuring it out, making a living. Civilization here in America. And the fact that they don't talk about it, I feel like that's the biggest disconnect in history till this day. The biggest disconnect. Mind y'all, this predates any Native American story you done heard in school. This predates Pocahontas. This stuff is that old. Extremely old here in America. Ancient America, the true old world. Look, nearly all the relics found in the Mississippi Valley, such as arrowheads, spearheads, knives, polished stone, axes, celts, carved stone pipes, and many specimens of pottery, the shell gorgets, and the drinking vessels, the pieces of copper, ornamented and unornamented, the mica plates, many of the bone implements, the needles, awls, silver ornaments, and the few specimens of gold and metallic iron belonged to the Mound Builders. Look at all of these commodities that belong to the Mound Builders. Yep, gold, right? Who were the keepers of the gold? That's the Tartars, man. The Tartars. Check out the clips, man. Check out the last live stream we did. Not the last one, but the last one. The keepers of the gold. Those who traveled with the gold. Right? So you saying that it's gold here in the Mississippi Valley? Or so you saying the Tartars was in the Mississippi Valley? Right? They was in here trading and doing business for all of these different commodities, because that's what these people was doing. That's why you have so many different commodities here in America or in the Mississippi Valley, right? People are getting these things from other places and just doing business, right? And the Moors is the merchants. The black folks is the merchants, y'all. We the ones selling all this stuff to the folks, right? Understand that. Keepers of the gold. Neolithic relics are found in the mounds, though some of them of the ruder class are found in the fire beds and sheltered caves. Specimens of the Neolithic age are picked up indiscriminately upon the surface. The Aborigines of America were in this age. The Aborigines of America were in this age. Yes, sir. So this ain't no Tartars. This ain't no Mongol. This ain't a cave-dwelling European. The Aborigines of America are the copper-colored peoples. Yes, sir. Multilingual. Multiple different languages, different peoples, different places, like, right? But you know what connected us though? Was that belief in that one almighty great spirit. See, we was going to war with the sun worshippers and the flesh eaters and all of them, right? We was going to war at this time in America. We was getting it popping. We was getting it on and popping, yeah. Nah, for real though. Scrapping. Fighting, because of this blasphemy that a lot of people was preaching here in America though, right? But look, the Aborigines in America, right, they were a part of the mound building age. So what does this mean? Yeah, hand in hand with some of the Tartars. Yeah, creators' favorite peeps. Off the rip. Hiya, 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 for sure. Right, we was here building. Right, probably like, hand in hand with the Tartars, right? Because a lot of those Tartars, like I said, some of them were copper colored too. Asiatic. Shem's descendants fleeing from the Japheth and his sons. Japheth's sons, Turk, right? Turk, and I forgot the other brother's name. Turk and somebody else. And they was just like stealing everything and, taking everything and claiming it as their own. We was running away, I ain't gonna lie. And we came here to America. And when we came here to America, we came to some more the Aborigines of America. And just making, just an assumption, we worked hand in hand to create this beautiful mound building period. They say that also the cliff dwellings and pueblos must also be assigned to this age. So you got to assign the cavemen too. You got to put the cavemen or the people that was up on the cliffs in this group, right? They constitute a second division, the mound builders being assigned to the first. The relics of the cliff dwellers are not much in advance of the mound builders, but their houses show an advanced stage of architecture. A third division of the Neolithic age may be recognized among the civilized races of Mexico and Central America. Some more Tartars, right? Some more Tartars, look, right? Let's just bring it back. Peru, Mexico, Bogota, Natchez, and Tolmeco. Conquest of the Mongols, the Tartars. Let's bring it back. Though these are by some archaeologists ascribed to the Bronze Age, it appears that the division of the Neolithic age in America corresponds to that in Europe. The mound builders, cliff dwellers, and civilized races constitute the three parts of that age, as the barrows, the lake dwellings, and the rude stone monuments did in Europe. It may be that two preceding periods should be assigned to the caves and fire beds, which corresponded to the caves and kitchen middens. 2. The part which the mound builders performed in connection with the Neolithic age. The mound builders in a technical sense are to be confined to the Mississippi Valley. There are, to be sure, many mounds and earthworks on the northwest coast, others in Utah, right? Mounds in Utah, the biblical Utah, and others still scattered among the civilized races in Mexico, right? In Mexico. But the mound builders as such were the inhabitants of this valley. So you had mound builders coming through Mexico, all the way through Utah, and even in the Mississippi Valley. Now this could have been through trade, groups of people's trading with one another's, traveling and trading, or this could all just be one great extent of land that just belonged to all of these different people at different times, of course, like they said. Right? Even still, Utah, California, New Mexico, places like that, you could have considered that Mexico at one point in time. So it's obvious to say that mad different peoples, cave dwellers sound like they were cowards. I'm crying. Probably hiding out in the caves and stuff like that. Probably, but they were scrapping too, though. They were scrapping too. As we go through this book, we're gonna see mad different stories that I'm talking about it though. But mound builder relics, Utah, Mexico, the Mississippi Valley, spread all over. spread all over. People's traveling, congregating, right? Going to one place, leaving some things behind, and then traveling to another. Or maybe people that's just jumping from house to house to house to house, right? Nomads, mad different stuff like that. But all here in America, though. All here in America. Check this, right? Look what it say. But the mound builders were, we shall see the extent of their territory if we take the mounds of the Red River Valley as one stream and follow the line across the different districts until we reach the mounds of Florida. Where is the Red River Valley? We gotta find where this Red River Valley is. It's gonna make this stuff make sense, man. Red River Valley. So they saying if this is Texas, right? They saying this is Texas. All right, I'm bugging. If anybody could let me know in the comments below, let me know. Right, Red River Valley is a region in North America that is drained by the Red River of the North. It is part of both Canada and the United States. Okay, so no, the Red River Valley is by Canada and right over here in the north, closer to us here in New York. So they saying the mound builder territory, they saying if we take the Red River Valley as one stream and follow the line across the different districts until we reach the mounds of Florida. This is the length of their territory, north and south. Deep. That's going through the Appalachian Mountains, right? Through the southwest United States. The southeast United States and the northeast United States. Cutting straight down the middle. All the way until you get to Mexico. All of that here in America, though. And now it's all mound builder territory. But like they said, mound builders had different epochs, different peoples dwelling at different times. But the extent of this beautiful region went from north to south. Let's remember though, what is of mound building creation? We got Cahokia. Cahokia belongs to the mound builders. This is Illinois. So they saying mounds like this and even mounds like these that we covered. They saying all of this stuff right here belongs to that mound building period. Look, the Great Serpent Mound, probably built by followers of the Great Serpent, which you're probably gonna learn about. Can't call them just mound builders. Everybody had different beliefs. You had sun worshipers, emerald worshipers, animal worshipers, followers of the Great Serpent. Different stuff like that. All here in America though, right? They saying the Florida mounds. What we got for the Florida mounds, which is something that we definitely gonna cover. I actually have a little excerpt on that. Let's see if we could probably pull it up later in this live stream though. But Florida got mad mounds. Florida got mad mounds. See, if I could pull this up, that's tough. That means I really be having my fire. See? These mounds. Oh look, they dating the building period back to 850 BC. The Big Mound Key site in southwest Florida, Charlotte Harbor, has a series of semicircular ridges reminiscent of the Poverty Point in Louisiana. So they saying that those who built these, right, the mound builders, the people who built the big mound, right, is similar to those who built the mound in Poverty Point. Right, could be mound builder creations. They got the John Quiet Mound site, southwest Florida, and is similar to the Poverty Point in Louisiana also. Right? Could all of these people be connected in that way? Right? All here in America though. And like they said, the American Aborigines were a part of this period too. Our ancestors was dwelling around this time too. Our ancestors were some of the builders too, man. Give yourself a pat on the back. Like I always tell people, right? Being black is beautiful. The things we've managed to create as black people or just copper colored people, let me say that. Beautiful, man. Beautiful. The architecture. You could do nothing but be amazed. Look what they say. Big Mound Key, the older of the two Cape Hayes sites, was first inhabited beginning around 850 BC. The Poverty Point site in Louisiana dates from 1800 BC to 500 BC, placing Big Mound Key towards the end of that site's habitation period. Look how old this stuff is. We talking before Christ. So this is around the time of those tribes dwelling over there out in the east. This is of that time. It all connects. The Tartars, the Mound Builders, it all connects. It's alright, sis, you here, so we lit. We just getting into it anyway. But yeah, man, what they said, the mound building territory stretched from Red River Valley in the north, basically to the mounds of Florida. And what we see here is that even with the mounds in Poverty Point, they have similarities to the mounds in Florida. Right, from Louisiana to Florida. Granted, we gotta understand, Florida was way bigger than what we know of it is today. They even had a longer shoreline, right? The waters were much, I don't know how to express it, but they had more land to cover. Florida had more land to cover, which means most likely more people dwelt in Florida at that time. And even when we look at the maps of the indigenous peoples, we see that Florida was inhabited by several different peoples. Right? Several different people. So it makes sense. These people who dwelt in Florida could have also lived in Louisiana. Right, descendants of the Choctaw and not descendants, ancestors of the quote unquote the Choctaw Creeks and all of them, the true American Aborigines. Right, but let's continue. The breadth could be indicated by the Allegheny Mountains upon the east and the footholds of the Rocky Mountains upon the west. For all of this range of territory, that's all the mound builder territory, that is stupid huge, y'all. Think about it. Stupid huge, right? Within this territory, we have the copper mines of Lake Superior, the salt mines of Illinois and Kentucky, the garden beds of Michigan, the pipestone quarries of Minnesota, the extensive potteries of Missouri, the stone graves of Illinois, the workshops, the stone cairns, the stone walls, the ancient roadways in the old walled towns of Georgia, the hut rings of Arkansas, the shelter caves of Tennessee and Ohio, the Minka mines in South Carolina, the quarries in Flint Ridge, Ohio, the ancient hearths at Ohio, the stone beds, the Abalasta caves in Indiana, the shell heaps of Florida, oil wells and ancient mines, and the rock inscriptions, which are all scattered over the territory everywhere, all belonging to the mound builders. Now these rock inscriptions though in Ohio, look at this. Oh man. It's a rock in Ohio that just has many mad different horses with, inscribed on it. And it kind of looked like Roman chariots. Swear to God. Swear to God. And if I could find it, it's lit. But I guess not. All right, let's see. What we got? Oh, guess not. But yeah, all of this belonging to the Mound Builders. Right? The shell heaps of Florida. Abalasta Caves in Indiana. Quarries in Flint Ridge. Minka mines in South Carolina. Hut rings of Arkansas. Old walled towns of Georgia. Stone walls and ancient roadways. All here in America. So it doesn't sound so savage as what your professor may make it seem like. Your professor may make it seem like America was just filled with a bunch of savages running around, scratching their ass and eating shit off the floor and stuff like that, right? But it wasn't like that. You had roadways, people constructing things that helped their societies progress for thousands of years to move forward. Like when you really think about it. When you really think about it. Let's see if we could check one of these out. Abalasta Caves. What is this? Abalasta Caves in Indiana. Stuff like that. All belonging to the Mound Builders. Right? What else we got? We ascribe all of these to the Mound Builders and conclude that they worked by this people. For the relic from the mines and quarries are found in the mounds. Besides these relics, we find others which we received by aboriginal trade. Obsidian knives, right? Like I said, others which were received by aboriginal trade. They was out here trading, hustling and bustling. The merchants, the black folks, the folks who wanted to get money. That was the get money hustlers right there. Right? That was paid in full. That was the black folks. Trading the obsidian, the knives, the arrowheads. Trading, what else? Stone tips and stone tools and stuff like that. The term for it is called cultural diffusion. And we can also look at it as quid pro quo. This for that. I give you this, you give me that. And we both move forward. We both move forward. Not too different from the history they tell us in school about what was going on over there in Europe and in Asia and in Africa, right? Not too different. It's all the same. It's all the same. Right? That type of stuff was over here. Now, the question is, where did it all originate from? Right? They said the American Aborigines were involved. So that means the people who lived here were already doing those things. So who did they get this knowledge from? As a civilization to move forward, right? Where can we connect these people to? Right? One of the books that I plan on bringing to the channel is the Atlantis, the Antediluvian World. Antediluvian meaning pre-flood or before the times of Noah and whatever the case may be. Right? Antediluvian. So we're going to learn a lot about pre-America's America in the world and what we see today and the history of all of that. For real. We're going to go deep into it. But yeah, so what else we got? They was out here trading obsidian, arrows and knives. From Idaho, jade axes from an unknown source. We wonder who this unknown source was. Carved specimens which seem to have come from Mexico. Could it have come from the Tartars? right? The Mongols who conquest reached that far, right? It went that far, right? Shells and wampum from the Gulf of Mexico. Specimens of art which show connection with the northwest coast and carved pipes which show familiarity with the animals and birds from the central provinces. The mound builders were the chief representatives of the Neolithic age, vying with the cliff dwellers in a grade of civilization, but having a much more varied culture than they. So they lived, they were representatives of the Neolithic age, hand in hand with the cliff dwelling people. So while they was dealing with stone tools and agriculture and building megalithic structures, right? Because remember, that's what Neolithic is. Let me go back to it. That's what Neolithic is, right? Shaping tools, domesticating plants, permanent villages, right? Megalithic architecture, spread of agricultural practices. When they was building stuff, the cliff dwellers is right there, probably hating from the sidelines. Because you living on a cliff, you could build stuff, but a lot of these things that they finding are on mainland, like not on a cliff, sort of say. The mounds is not on a cliff, or whatever the case may be. They not in the caves, even though they have caves out here that have relics and inscriptions and all of that stuff inside of them. They were both representatives of that age, though, of that culture here in America, right? The times of where we see the creations of these mounds and temples. Like I said, in the book, in this book that we did, it stated that in South America there were no megalithic structures until the arrival of Manco Capac and the Inca, because they built most of the temples. They were builders. So we got to take that information. If they went as far as Ptolemaico and Natchez, then we know they came here to North America. So we know a part of that could have some type of ties to the mound builders. You cannot exit out, you got to think. You got to just really think. Like, these things spread, societies spread. It's called a conquest, right? They just keep moving and taking more land, right? And then eventually, once you settle with your land, you start trading what you have with other societies so that you can become bigger or richer or wealthier, right? You have all the land, you got all the money. That makes you the greatest king on the land, right? According to some people. But let's continue. Their territory extended over more land than any other class of people known to the prehistoric age, and their art presents more variety than any other class. The cuts represent the character of the relics taken from the mounds. The pottery vase is from a mound in Michigan and shows the high stage of art reached there. The hoes and sickles are from mounds in Tennessee and show the agricultural character of the people. The banner stone and silver ornament are from mounds in Florida. A.E. Douglas thinks the silver ornament was modern. We place these cuts alongside of the elephant pipes and other large relics, other relics to show the length of the age of the mound builders. A lot of these peoples, right, being buried in the mounds with their pipes in their hands, or buried with their pipes and stuff like that, right, taking it to the grave with them. Taking it straight to the grave, these sacred items. As to the antiquity of the mound builders, we may say that dates are always difficult to fix. We cannot give them definitely. We imagine that the mound builders were the first people who occupied the territory after the close of the glacial period, that they followed hard on to the Paleolithic people, that no other race intervened. This is, however, a matter of conjecture. Our reasons for holding this are as follows. 1. The appearance of the Mastodon and Mammoth. We contend that these animals and the mound builders were contemporaneous, right? For those who don't know the definition, let's pull it up, right? They went hand in hand. They existed at the same time. Mound builders and mastodons existed at the same time. American Aboriginals also dwelt around the mound building period, along with cliff dwellers, the Pueblos, and the Mexica. All of these peoples existing around the same time of the Mastodons. So tell me, how old is that really? It's not too old. When you think about it, they say, right, and y'all could correct me if I'm wrong. The story goes that the mound builders, right, were destroyed or miraculously disappeared right before the arrival of the Europeans. That's how the story goes. That's what they say. So that means that would date the mound building period, if they talking before Christ, all the way up until the 1300s, making that about, let's say, like they said, 10,000 to 13,000 years of a mound building period of different peoples occupying at one time and a different time, right? And at all these times, these peoples dwelt alongside of the Mastodon. So did the Mastodon really go extinct, right? Or were they just included in this merchant trade system that they had going on around these periods, right? Because mound builders existed in Paleolithic and Neolithic periods, which means that they dwelt for a long time, because one preceding the other. Things that we have to understand. I hope y'all understand it, man. I hope this is making sense. I hope this is making sense. You know, there might be some mastodons out there somewhere, right? Just like how they got a Bigfoot story, I'm pretty sure there's a mastodon out there somewhere. And watch, I'm gonna be the first mother lover to find it. Mark my words. Mark my words. I'm gonna find the mastodon. I'm gonna get out there and find it. But yeah, so look, the only age which intervened between the glacial period and the mound builders period is to be called the Mastodon's age. We are ready to acknowledge that a long time must have elapsed between a glacial age and the mound builders. But in the absence of proof that any other inhabitants occupied the territory, we ascribe the time or period to the Mastodon and the Mammoth. The Paleolithic people may indeed have survived the glacial period and also been contemporaneous with the Mastodon, right? So after they survived the glacial period, they saying that they was out there chilling with the Mastodon. So we know that it's pre-glacial, glacial, and then after that, that's when we got the times of when the ice start melting and everything. At all three of these periods, you have people in Mastodons existing at all three times. At all three times. Chilling with the elephants here in America. Think about it. That's how old it is, though. That's how old, and they dwelt with each other at various different points in time. And even crazier, right? We learned when we talking about the Tartars, they say they brought elephants with them as well, right? Woolly mammoths, most likely. Right? They even used them in war. They used a lot of them in war. Right, but let's continue. The real age of the mammoth and mastodon covering the whole of the Paleolithic age and overlapping the mound builders, the first being the age in which the tuned mastodon was numerous. It covered the whole Paleolithic age and it overlapped the mound builders. The mastodon was numerous. Remember, what is Paleolithic? Let's keep remembering. Stone Age. Old Stone Age. So when we were using stone tools, right? They was out here with us. And it even overlapped that period. Right? Which means they existed during the Neolithic period, like they said. Like they said. This is fire. This is fire because like I'm telling y'all, they don't teach us this stuff in school. If you would have knew this is how rich the country was, you would probably want to go on a scavenger hunt with one of them little metal detector thingies, right? Because I know I'm not ever going front. I say it to myself all the time. That's something that I need to do. Because I already know that if I look in the right spot, if you look in the right spot, you're going to find some shit. If it's not already in the museum. Because they still searching. That's why they think a lot of these things are extremely old. They still searching. They don't really know how old it is. They'll probably say it's millions of years ago, right? 100,000, 200,000 years ago. But it's not that old. It's not that old. It's just before the arrival of Columbus. Just before it. As a matter of fact, they was here when Eric the Red slid through. And the northern men, when they slid through to America, they was out here. The mound builders was out here. Certain writers have denied this and have argued that so long an interval of time elapsed between the mound builders and the close of the glacial age that the mastodon disappeared altogether, that the buffalo was the animal which was distinctive of the mound builders age, and the mastodon was the animal distinctive of the Paleolithic age. Their arguments are as follows. The forests which have spread over the northern half of the mound builders territory are in places very dense. During the glacial period, this region was covered by a sea of ice. The ground must needs settle and be covered with alluvial before the forest would grow. The forest could only gradually appear, the distribution of seeds and the springing up of the saplings being a slow process. Another argument is taken from analogy. In Europe, the period of the gravel beds was supposed to be the same as a glacial period and marked the beginning of the Paleolithic age. There were, however, between the gravel beds and the age of the barrows, 3 or 4 different epochs. The cave dwellers, the people of the kitchen middens, the lake dwellers. The progress have been gradual between the periods. In America, the change was more sudden, for the tokens which are found in our furious gravels are much more advanced than any found in the gravel beds of Europe. Right, the tokens found in the gravels are much advanced than what you find in Europe. Ancient America, the true old what? Ancient America, the true old what? Ancient America, the true old world, man. More ancient than what you find in Europe. Or do they mean Eurasia, right? We know America is the oldest. More advanced. Much more tokens, much more advanced. They correspond to the relics of the lake dwellers and the barrows. The mound builders' relics are also much more advanced than those of the gravel beds in the same territory. And the supposition is that there must have been either an intervening period in which mound building was not practiced, or that there was an immigration of the mound builders into this territory from some other part. Right, so what they're saying is that what they're finding in that territory is showing that mound building, or the building of mounds, was not practiced. Right, there was no infrastructure. There was no infrastructure. Just like in the same story where, like in South America, there was no infrastructure until the arrival of Manco Capac. There was no infrastructure here in America, which proves that mound building was something that was brought into the society. Right? Brought into the society. And what the people did was, everybody who co-inhabited together picked up on it. Now, either it could have been brought into the society, or it was here in America and was not discovered. Those are the only two options we got. That's what they saying, though. We acknowledge that there are some facts which favor this superstition, or idea that there were inhabitants intervening between the rude Paleolithic people and advanced mound builders who were corresponded to the people of the kitchen middens and to the early lake dwellers. Possibly we shall find that the fire beds of the interior and the kitchen middens of the sea coast were deposited during this period, and the divisions of time may be identified by these tokens. We maintain that the close of the glacial period was not so sudden as some imagine. There may have been a littoral class of fishermen of this period. They followed after the ice as it disappeared, leaving their shell heaps on the coast and their fire beds in the interior. People dwelling during the Ice Age. So there's people dwelling here during the Ice Age. Just like how the little movie didn't make it, made it seem, right? But it was people here dwelling during the Ice Age. They were fishermen, followed after the ice while it was melting, and left their homes. In favor of this, we may mention the fact that the tooth of a polar bear and the bones of an auk, both of which are animals that occupy the Arctic regions and inhabit the ice fields, have been found in a shell heap on the coast of Maine, thus proving that there were inhabitants when the ice reached as far south as that point. People dwelling here during the Ice Age, like I just said. People dwelling here during the Ice Age. It survived that period and may have existed the time the land was becoming settled and until it was covered with forests and became inhabited with wild tribes. During this time, the peat beds and the swamps were their favorite resorts. Many of them became mired in the swamps and were attacked by the natives. These natives were acquainted with fire and used rude stone implements, arrows, and spearheads. As the Mastodon retreated northward, the hunters also migrated and became the denizens of the forests of the northern districts. Right, so what they saying here is that a lot of the Mastodons are being attacked or being hunted by the native peoples of the land. Right, all of this is after the Ice Age, after the ice melted. Right, and once the forest became like what it was or what we see today, or part of what we see today, they was hunting and they chased the Mastodons to the north. They chased them all to the north. That's what they're saying. This accounts for the scarcity of images of the elephant and the mastodon among the southern mound builders, and for the images of the same animals among the northern mound builders. We have mentioned the find of Dr. Koch of the mastodon in the Gasconade Swamp of Missouri. This was an important find. Dr. Koch says there were remains of firestones and arrowheads near the bones, showing that the animal had been hunted by the people then living. And here we go, we got an animal from the mounds that they got. It's nondescript though, the shape of something. Could be a mastodon though. To me it looked like a beaver. But this was in the mound. Let's continue. Dr. Koch made the statement that this animal was capable of feeding itself with the 4 feet, after the manner of the beaver or the otter. Oh look, so yeah, a beaver, yeah. This statement was doubted at the time and seemed to cast the credit upon the entire find. It now proves very important. In the late number of the Scientific American is a description of the Newburgh mastodon in which this very peculiarity is noticed. The writer says, the most important comparison is in the aspect of the 4 limbs. In the elephant, the 4 limbs are columnar, and the hind columnar, as are the hind limbs. In the mastodon, there is a decided aspect, more or less, of prehensile capacity. That is, the latter have the 4 feet approaching the plantigrade in aspects and were correspondingly adapted for pronation. So they're basically saying that the mastodon had 4 feet that they could use. The 4 limbs of the mastodon with such development we should expect would be able to be thrown over the foliage or brushwood and a crushing effected by somewhat expanded madness. No such movement could be effected by the elephants, right? The elephants couldn't move like how the mastodon could. There's a difference. As much as we naturally compare the 2 great creatures, especially as both have similar nasal development, a near view of both together shows many differences in form. Mastodons and elephants being 2 different people. 2 different types of animals. 2 different types of animals. All right, let's remember that. Let's keep that in mind. The survival of the mastodon, J.B. Holden says, in nearly every state west of New England, portions of this creature have been disinterred, and every year there are several found, more or less in a state of complete preservation. Right, the bones are preserved. How? If they are 10,000 years old, how are these bones still preserved? I dare somebody go try to dig up bones from 10,000 years ago. It's probably going to be partially disintegrated, right? Because bones is made up of minerals too, right? And then you have certain type of animals and insects and creatures that feed on bone and bone marrow. Bone can't last that long, right? Preserved for 13,000 years in the dirt is crazy. I don't know about y'all, but that's just crazy to me. Y'all can let me know if I'm bugging. But yeah, they keep finding these bones. They keep finding mastodon bones. The circumstance of several skeletons having about them evidence of a man's work is extremely interesting. On one account, it brings the date through the greatly indefinite to man's existence. We are therefore able to say man and mastodon are contemporaneous. We have not determined what sort of man made those stone arrowheads which struck the life out from the great carcasses and lie among their remains. We have not a knowledge of what sort of man made the charcoal which was found lying among the partially burned bones of a mastodon. But we do know that some man made the arrowheads, and we know also that no other than man is capable of making charcoal or even to make a fire by which it is formed. Right? There we go. Proving it to us. they dwelt amongst one another, man and Mastodon. So if the Mastodon is as old as the Ice Age, and before that, well, guess what? Man here in America dwelt right alongside them. Right alongside them. The Mound Builders. The American Aboriginals. Our ancestors. It's crazy when you think about it. So much history that they just keep hidden, that they just don't want us to know. Like, really, like, think about it. What is that? Right? And then dinosaur is just another term for a dragon, or an extremely big animal like a megatherium, like a giant sloth, or an ancient animal. We was dwelling right alongside them. Right alongside them. But you know what? It's sad though, because we really went from hunting animals this size to you got some brothers who don't even know how to use an oven. I'm not gonna lie, that's crazy. That's crazy. And that's why I say we gotta go back to the roots, man. Because how you can't flip a burger on a stove pilot or bake a chicken inside an oven? If you can't do that, then you definitely ain't gonna be able to survive off stick stones in a fire, because that's essentially an oven. And you really got grown ass men out here who cannot use an oven. That's crazy to me. But that's how distant we are from, you know, our Aboriginal ways. Who wants to live like that? That's trash. Because that means you just can't survive off basic necessity. You're going to be eating canned goods all day? That ain't it. That's not survival. Right? This is survival. Hunting mastodons and stuff like that, that's survival. That's different. Right? But what else we got? Professor Barton of the University of Pennsylvania discovered the bones of a mastodon at a depth of 6 feet, and in the stomach of an animal he found a mass of vegetable matter composed of leaves and branches, among which was a rush, now common in Virginia. The ancient lakelets of Michigan enclose numerous remains of the mastodon and mammoth, but they are sometimes so near the surface that one could believe them to have been buried within 500 years. This is what I'm saying. Capped at 10,000 years ago. They're near the surface, right? What we know about dirt and layers, right? Over time, right? The dirt, you know, it layers over and over, you know. Things grow over it and stuff like that. 500 layers of dirt. They basically saying that these mastodons was buried when folks and them was slaves out here. $500 years ago from today would be 1524. So you telling me these bones is as fresh as 1524? That Hernando de Soto was out here with mastodons, right? Like I said, when the Tartars was sliding out here, it was around the 1300s. They were bringing elephants with them. Like I said. Like I said, yeah, definitely the greatest people when they first met us, definitely, because we were so great that we could tame beasts. The serpent will always prevail over the eagle. Remember, I said that. The serpent will always prevail over the eagle. Why? Because the serpent was gifted to us from the Most High himself. The eagle soared through the air like an angel. And angels aren't of the Most High. The eagle will never win. Right? Y'all gotta understand my rhetoric right now. Y'all gotta understand my rhetoric right now. Right, but yeah, check this out. The mastodon found near Tecumseh lay about 2.5 feet beneath the surface. The Adrian mastodon was buried about 3 feet. The Newburgh, New York mastodon was just beneath the soil in a small pool of water. Yeah. So they buried beneath the surface as if, right? Think about it like this: 6 feet deep. That's how deep the tombstone goes, right? I mean the casket goes. Right? Your average pool is about 7 feet, 6 feet deep. They're saying these mastodons was buried 3 feet, 2 feet, just beneath the soil. Just beneath. As if like they were freshly laid there. Think about that. That's crazy. So what you mean extinct 10,000 years ago? We gotta cap that. Professor Samuel Lockwood of Freehold, New Jersey has spoken of the life range of the mastodon. He has shown that this animal was living at a period well up into the recent geological time. It came with the great extinct fossil beaver, which it outlived and became contemporary with the modern beaver. It lived to be contemporary with the American Aboriginal men and probably melted away before the presence of man. This right here, this statement within itself is stupid. Because you're saying they lived with man but melted away before the presence of man. American Aboriginal, that's men. That's men. That's our ancestors. So they was out here with us. Melted away before the presence of man just sounds stupid when you think about it now. It just sounds stupid. Yeah, we could definitely touch bases on that, sis, for sure. And she related to Tecumseh. That's crazy. That's tough. I ain't gonna lie. That's tough. But yeah, sis, we could definitely do that. You just gotta let me know. Hit me on the gram. We could do it. Where we at? Professor Lockwood discovered a mastodon in a beet bog nearby a fossil beaver dam, in such circumstances as led him to suspect that the mastodon had been actually buried by the beavers. Professor Schouler says almost any swampy bit of ground in Ohio or Kentucky contains traces of the mammoth or mastodon. The fragments of wood which one finds beneath their bones seems to be of the common species of existing trees, and the reeds and other swampy plants which are embedded within their remains are apparently the same as those which now spring in the soil. They are saying these mammoth and mastodon fragments are as common, not as common. They're buried with the trees that now exist and the plants that are still there till this day. The mastodon fragments are there with the plants that in trees that exist on the ground as recent as when this book was published. That's crazy. But you telling me they went extinct 10,000 years ago. So then how are they this fresh? Why are they with the trees and plants that still exist? Right? Why are they with the plants and trees that still exist? If they expired, when extinct 10,000, 13,000 years ago. Trees, plants and trees, they die and grow too. So don't we think the trees and the plants probably would have changed over the 13,000 years, over time? especially with everything that was going on here in America. They feed upon a vegetation not materially different from that now exists in the region. Professor Hall says of the very recent existence of this animal, there seems to be no doubt. The marl beds and muck swamps where these remains occur are the most recent of all superficial accumulations. Dr. John Collett says that in the summer of 1880, an almost complete skeleton of a mastodon was found in Iroquois County, Illinois, which goes far to settle definitely that it was a recent animal and fed upon the vegetation which prevails till today. A recent animal. This is 1880. It's a recent animal. Dropping bombs, bro. What I say? What the did I say? They was out here with the guys, right? And they were not extinct 10,000, 13,000 years ago, right? They just want to take everything away from America's true glory. Turtle Island, the true glory. They just want to take everything away. Even animals, bro, that's petty. I only know there's only one group of people that could do stuff like that. And you know what? I'm not surprised because they all fat and can't please their women in bed. So I'm not surprised. And they just want to steal. Right? The tusks were 9 feet long, 22 feet inches in circumference, and weighed about 175 pounds. The lower jaw was nearly 15 feet long. The teeth weighed 4 or 5 pounds. Each of the leg bones measured 5 feet and a half, indicating that the animal was 11 feet high. On inspecting the remains closely, a mass of fibrous matter was found fallen in the place of the animal's stomach, which proved to be a crushed mass of herbs and grass similar to those which still grow in the vicinity. My boy was out here still, man. That mastodon was a lone soldier, and he died lonely. He died by himself, because it wasn't many of them, right? He died by himself. He was out here. He wasn't extinct. He had a nice meal too before he went out, like a G. Just like a G. He said, screw it, man. I'm out here. I'm by myself. Ain't no other animals around. Right, well, they are, but I mean, they all getting shipped or captured and put in zoos and stuff, right? So I ain't going out like that. You know, they got brains too. They mammals. Y'all, they mammals. They got feelings too. They got feelings too. A skeleton was found by excavating a canal embedded in the peat near Covington County, Indiana. When the larger bones were split open, the marrow was utilized by the bog cutters to grease their boots. Chunks of sperm-like substance occupied the place of the kidney fat of the monster. These discoveries convince us that the mastodon survived the glacial period and may have been contemporaneous with the mound builders. Were the mound builders contemporaneous with the mastodon? This is a disputed point, and considerable feeling has been raised in the contention. There have been reports of the images of the mastodon and mammoth, but the genuineness of the finds have been disputed, and is still with some of a matter of doubt. Where are we to discriminate between these, however, accepting some as genuine, other as doubtful? We might reach a safe conclusion. The history of these discoveries is about as follows. In 1874, Mr. Jared Warner found upon the bottom land of the Mississippi, near Wyalusing, an effigy which was called an elephant. He, in company with a number of gentlemen, measured and plated it, and sent a drawing of it to the Smithsonian Institute. Right, sent it straight to the Smithsonian. Wasted no time. No time. They got the drawing before they could even get the product. and probably was beasting for the product after they got the drawing. Mr. Warner says it has been known here for the last 25 years as the Elephant Mound. The head is large, and the proportion of the whole so symmetrical that the mound well deserves the name. The mound was in a shallow valley between two sandy ridges and was only about 8 feet above the high water. There are many mounds in this section of country in the shape of birds, bears, deer, and foxes. This being like of animal worship, right? A lot of that going on. We would say that the effigy of the bear, which is very common here, and which was the totem of the clan formerly dwelling here, has exactly the same shape as the so-called elephant, but is not so large and lacks the proboscis. The projection at the nose, called the proboscis, is not really one, but is the result of the washing of the soil. It was a mere prolongation of the head and had no curve. Did not even reach so far as the feet, and can be called a proboscis only by a stretch of imagination. Right? Like I said, what we got here is animal worship from some of the tribes here in America. Right? Definitely. Yep. They definitely been here for a minute. The turtle, alligator, and the hippo. Definitely. As a matter of fact, listen, they've been in Florida. Right? They've been in Florida. The gator's been in Florida for a long time. And the turtle is actually a map that's out there that shows, it's called the migration, the turtle map. Right? And it's basically is in Spanish, and it says that when man migrated from wherever they were to becoming civilized, they came here to America, which would be the land of America, and that's where we get the land of the traveling turtle, or Turtle Island, basically. You could Google it though, go do your own research, and I'm pretty sure you'll find something. Right? But they definitely was out here though. But you had animal worship here in America. Right? Clans, different clans, and these people were like tribes too, like living in huts and stuff like that, and also living with and amongst the animals. They had deers, foxes, and all that stuff living in their encampments and stuff like that with them. Sort of kind of like the if you ever play one of the Assassin's Creed games and you see the folks who live like barbarians and stuff like that, they live with the animals. Right? They're living with the animals. What else we got? There is no evidence whatever that it was intended to represent a proboscis. The size of this mastodon is as follows: length 135 feet, hind feet to back 60 feet, from 4 feet to back 66 feet, from end of snout to neck of 30 to 31 feet, from end of snout to forelegs 39 feet, between forelegs and hind legs 51 feet, across the body 36 feet. Big ass mastodon in America. These measurements make the proboscis and snout combined about the same length as the forelegs. The proboscis alone about half the length of the forelegs, whereas had it been a genuine imitation, it should have been nearly double the length. The writer has visited the effigy 2 or 3 times, but found it more and more obliterated. No other effigy of the elephant could be discovered in the vicinity, and no other has been discovered since. Right, and then we have right here is a plan of a mound, a grave, a mound grave, right, on a shell bed. And then you have the family here buried in the mound. Description of ancient old America, man. Burial, stuff like that. This is what those things look like. You gotta love it, man. But yeah, what we got? The history of the second discovery is about as follows. In the year 1874, the Reverend Mr. Gass was engaged in exploring mounds. He came upon a group of mounds situated about the mile of the city of Davenport, on the bank of the Mississippi River, about 250 feet from it, and from 8 to 12 feet above the low water mark, which consisted of 10 or 12 mounds. Several of these were excavated and found to contain a large number of relics, such as seashells, copper axes, pipes, hemispheres of copper. You know, you got to keep that copper with you, man. That copper What was so good about copper is that it was like an energy source, right? When you grounding, right, what they use in copper coils, the grounding mats and stuff like that, it has copper. They keeping copper with them, right? They go hand in hand with that melanin, that vibration, man. They go hands in hand with us, right? You had to keep that copper with you. Get you some copper, y'all. If you ain't got no copper, get you some copper. Definitely. Yeah, hemispheres of copper, arrowheads, pieces of galena, pieces of pottery, pieces of mica, stone knives, copper impalements shaped like a spool, rondelles showing that tree panning had been practiced. Many of the axes had been wrapped with coarse cloth, which had been preserved by the copper. See, copper preserves everything. The pipes were all of mound builders' pattern. Some of them were carved with the effigies or birds and animals. One bird has eyes of copper, another has eyes of pearl, showing that much delicacy of manipulation and skill in carving, right? Where you know in America in history books where they say they was doing stuff like that. That's fire, bro. That's fire. Eyes of copper, another eyes of pearl. And the pipes, right? The pipes, the peace pipes. The carving skill, the talent. You know how much talent that takes. But yeah, they gonna keep popping that. Yeah, savages, blah blah blah. Whatever the case may be, man. That ain't it, bro. It ain't it. You can't tell us that when people out there cultivating stuff like this. That's fire, bro. That it takes some real good creativity and craftsmanship to do stuff like that. They excited much interest, and they were put on exhibition before the American Association for the Advancement of Science. In 1875, they sent them straight to the museum, right? They put them straight on display, right? Didn't even leave these things where they belonged or in the burial grounds or whatever. They took them and brought them straight to the museums and put them on display. Right? No wonder this country go through so much. We got like a big curse on us, right? For how they treated the folks done back in the day. Right? And what they doing with all of this stuff that we that we cherished, right? Like they took this from a burial ground and sent it straight to the museum. Wasted no time. Right? About 20 copper pipes were reported at that time, and 11 copper awls and a large number of bones. See, they took the copper. They took the copper. They took the copper, y'all. Do y'all know how important the copper was to the people? Energy sources, man. Energy sources. Sources of energy. Of power. And they burying themselves with their copper ornaments. Right? This ain't to signify wealth. I mean, it could be a symbol of wealth, but it's a reason for it. And they digging up these burial grounds and taking the copper. And the bones and stuff like that of the people and all of that. And just conducting experiments on all of this stuff. Like, that ain't right. Imagine, the thing about it is, you got to think about it. Like, a lot of these folks wouldn't want people doing that to their grandma. Yeah, I know. You got to think about it. I know. You got to think about who owned the museums for sure, bro. I know, bro. I know. It's crazy, man. It's crazy when you think about it. It's crazy. Like, it's like, imagine somebody go dig your auntie up and put her in the museum. That's basically what they doing. We just don't know how connected we are to these things, right? But it's right in front of us. When you go to the museums and all of that, your history is right in front of you. Right? Like the Wakanda movie, right? When Killmonger went inside the museum and he was on that, like, yeah, this belonged to my ancestors, right? Right? Just like that. That's why I understand his role in that movie. That role was very much respected because I felt that. That's why I like museums now, but every time I go, I just be like, yeah. I mean, like this, I know where this come from, you know, my little inner thoughts or whatever the case may be, my intrusive thoughts. But that's what they did. They take the copper, the bones, the animals, the relics, all of that, and they just start experimenting on them and shipping them off and selling them at the highest bidder, stuff like that, whatever the case may be. Right, look, check this out. They were said to have been found at various depths, some of them near skeletons, some near altars, some in ashes, though they were all from the same group on the Cook farm. The mounds on the Cook farm were, the most of them, stratified. All of them contained bodies and ashes. 2 or 3 of them contained altars, or round heaps, of stone, but with no relics upon the altars. Mound number 3 was the one in which the tablets were discovered. This was a low mound, about 3 feet high and 60 feet in diameter. It was a double mound and contained 2 graves parallel to each other, 3 or 4 feet apart, 6 feet wide and 9 or 10 feet long. In making the excavation of the first grave, digging up the graves, the party found near the surface 2 human skeletons, which were modern Indians, and with them modern relics such as fire steel, a common clay pipe, a number of glass beads, a silver earring. Below these was a layer of river shells and a large quantity of ashes. Right, and check out the hieroglyphs. Right, this could be some type of Hebraic script right here. Could be, right? But yeah, what they say. Below was a layer of river shells and large quantity of ashes which extended 2 feet below the surface, but which rested upon a stratum of earth 12 inches in depth, under which was a second bed of shells. At the depth of 2 feet below the second shell, 5.5 feet below the summit, 3 skeletons were discovered, lying in horizontal position at the bottom. Follow me here, y'all. Now this is the symmetric. This is the symmetry of a mound. The different layers of a mound. Different layers of a mound, right? You got the shells, and then below that, you got the skeletons, right? And then with the skeletons, there were 5 copper axes, all of which had been wrapped in cloth. A number of small red stones arranged in the form of a star. 2 carved stone pipes, several bear's teeth, 2 pieces of galena, 1 large broken pot, a yellow ortray, 1 arrowhead, and yeah, these were the things found within the mound. So what they did was they dug 1 layer and then got to the shell bed, and then under the shell bed there were 3 skeletons, and then with the skeletons there were copper axes, and then with those were other ornaments that were buried with the people, right? Other ornaments, right? And they had small red stones that were arranged in the form of stars. Arranged in the form of stars. I got something coming on that Queen Khalifa for you, my brother. We could talk about it. I got something coming, definitely. Queen Khalifa, she actually connected to the TARDIS too, but we're gonna talk about it. But yeah, they had stars, red stones in the forms of stars. Now what can this be connected to? Could this be connected to the sun, moon, and stars worship? Right, could there be a connection there? Right, but all of this in the burial mound. Right, and in between the 2 large ones, there was a child skeleton. The second grave was not opened until the year 1877, about 2 years after the first. Mr. Gass was attended by a party of 7 men, 2 of whom were students. They found near the surface modern relics, a few glass beads, and fragments of a brass ring. Also a layer of shells 12 or 15 inches thick. Beneath this, a second layer of 5 or 6 inches thick. Beneath the second layer, a stratum of loose black soil or vegetable mold, 18 to 20 inches thick, and in the mold fragments of human bones. At the bottom, they discovered the 2 inscribed tablets laying close together on a hard clay, 5 and 1/2 feet below the surface of the mound. Both were encircled by a single row of lime stones. About 2 and 1/2 feet east were copper axes, a few copper beads, fragments of pottery, a piece of mica, and a number of bones. These were found at subsequent exploration, not at the same time as the tablets. The large tablet is 12 inches long from 8 to 10 inches wide and was made of a dark cold slate. The smaller tablet was about square 7 inches in length and had holes bored in the upper corners, and is called the calendar stone, and it contained 12 signs with 3 concentric circles, though the signs do not least resemble the Mexican or Maya calendars. The larger tablet contained a picture on either side, one representing a cremation scene, the other a hunting scene. The cremation scene suggests human sacrifice. A number of bodies are represented as lying upon a back, and the fire is burning upon the summit of the mound, while the so-called mound builders are gathered in a ring around the mound. Ooh, that's tough. That's tough, because what they saying, man, he's saying this tablet, it does not least resemble the Mexican or the Maya, right? And what it resembles is maybe a hunting scene, maybe human sacrifice. Like I said, and what we gonna connect this to? Can we connect this to the sun and moon worship here in America, right? We can connect this to that. And this tablet was already out here. This tablet with inscriptions was already out here. It's like a hieroglyph, right? That's a form of writing. This is what they used to tell a story at this time, right? It says, while the so-called mound builders are gathered in a ring around a mound. And then we have a tablet right here, right? A sandstone tablet with characters written on it, right? This was the writing system. This is how they communicated on their tablets. This is what they left behind to show that they were here. Real spill. These tablets, and I already showed y'all the Bat Creek stone. We spoke about the Los Lunas Decalogue stone, right? I even read, when we reading in the history of the Inca, they got stones in South America with Phoenician script on it. We're gonna talk about it. Right, above the cremation scene is an arch formed by 3 crescent lines representing the horizon, and in the crescent and above it are hieroglyphics, some of which resemble the common figures and numbers and the various letters of the alphabet. There are 98 figures, 24 in one, 20 in the other, and 54 above the lines. The peculiar features of this picture are these. A rude class of mound builders are practicing human sacrifice, while the images of the sun and moon are both in the sky, one containing a face, the other circles and rays. Check out the Tartars, the one we did on the Incas and the Tartars, man. The sun and moon worship in America, brought here by Mango Capac. So they was doing sun and moon worship over there in the east. And y'all can go look this up. Look up Vedicism or Vedism. I spoke about it. I'm gonna bring it back. It's a historic religion, one of the first religions. Right? This was basically what sun worship was. Sun and moon worship back then. Vedism. Right, and it was adopted by Indo-European people, and they changed the original religion and they turned it into sun and moon worship. Check this out. Above these is the Arch of the Heavens, with Roman numerals and Arabic figures scattered through and above it. The figure 8 is represented 3 times. The letter O represented 7 times. With these familiar characters are others which resemble letters of ancient alphabets, either Phoenician or Hebrew, and only a few characters such as the natives generally used. They generally used. Connecting us to the Phoenicians now? Mound builders and the Phoenicians? And like, you got this stuff all over America, man. All over America. The hunting scene is the one which is supposed to contain the Mastodon. In this picture, there is a large tree which occupies the foreground. Beneath the tree are animals, human beings, and fishes scattered indiscriminately about. A few skeletons of trees in the background. One of the human figures has a hat on, which resembles a modern hat, for it has a rim. Of the animal kingdom, 30 individuals are represented. Divide as follows: man 8, bison 4, deer 4, beards 3, hares 3, bighorn or Rocky Mountain goat 1, fish 1, prairie wolf 1, nondescript animals 3. Of these latter, one defies recognition, but the other 2, apparently of the same species, are the most interesting figures of the whole group. These animals are supposed by different critics to represent the moose, tapirs, or mastodons. And what is a tapir? A tapir. A tapir. A giant rodent. Well, that's the giant rodent. A tapir. A T-A-P-I-E-R-A-R. One of them. The trunk and tusks are omitted from this animal, and even the shape hardly resembles the elephant. Certainly not enough to prove that the mound builders were contemporaneous with the mastodon. The third discovery is the one most relied upon. This discovery was also made by the Reverend Mr. Gass in the spring of 1880, several years after the discovery of the tablets. Mr. Gass was accompanied by Reverend Mr. Bloomer. A group of 10 mounds arranged in irregular rows was situated along the bluffs overlooking the Mississippi bottoms west of Mustang Slough. The first mound open proved to be a sacrificial or cremation mound, situated on the extreme edge of a prominent bluff, having ravines on both sides. It was a flat cone, 30 feet in diameter, elevation 3 feet. Near the surface was a layer of hard clay, 18 inches thick. Below this, a layer of burned red clay, as hard as brick. Pause. 1 foot thick. Under this, a bed of ashes, 13 inches deep. In the ashes were found a portion of a carved stone pipe, bird form, by Mr. H. Haas, a very small copper axe by Mr. Gass, a carved stone pipe entire representing an elephant, which Mr. Bloomer says was first discovered by myself. The other mounds of the group were explored and contained ashes and bones but no relics. Mr. Gass makes no report of finding the elephant pipe, but leaves that to Mr. Bloomer. During the same year, he discovered in the mounds in Mercer County, Illinois, several mound builders' pipes, one representing a lizard, one a turtle, and one and another snake coiled around an upright cylinder and covered with some very thin metallic coating. Serpent worship. That was the serpent worship, y'all. The serpent worship. They had the snake, the turtle, the lizard. Serpent worship, you know, using the animals on their pipes, you know, that represented what they stood for. You know, that's some of the things that they were doing, right? That's why you have eagle representations and or them using wolves as they clan symbols and stuff like that. That's representing their different belief systems, the animal worship, the sun worship, you know, sun and moon, the figgies, stuff like that is representing their forms of worship. This here in America. Here in America. Right, what else we got? Mounds on the Illinois side near Moline and Copper Creek and Pine Creek had previously yielded to Mr. Gas carved stone pipes, one of them representing a porcupine, another a howling wolf. The pipes were composed of some dark colored slate or variety of talc, thus showing that the mound builders of the region were inhabitant of imitating the animals which they saw, making a figgies of them their pipes. The account of finding this elephant is written in very straightforward manner. Nothing about it shows any intention to deceive. The fourth discovery consisted of a carved stone pipe also in the shape of an elephant or a mastodon. This pipe was picked up in a cornfield by a German farmer named Mayer, who gave it away and afterwards moved to Kansas. The pipe came into the hands of Reverend Mr. Gass, was purchased by the Davenport Academy, and is now in their museum. Both pipes have the general mound builder shape, a curved base. Both pipes are alike in that they represent the animal with the proboscis, but with no tusk. The reason for this may have been that it was difficult to carve the tusk out of stone. If they had been so carved, they were likely to break. They are alike also in representing the eye in the air, mouth, tail, legs, and the feet of animal in every natural way. This mound builder pipe, right? The general mound builder pipe. That's what they saying. The main difference between them is that this one had a trunk stretched out in the front and the back curved upward and a heavy body. The others represent the proboscis curved inward toward the legs. The back is straight and the body slim. Both have the bow of the pipe between the forelegs, which are brought out in relief from the cylinder on the sides of the bow. The hole for smoking is at the rear of the animal. The pipes show much more familiarity with the mastodon than do the figgies. They represent the trunk as nearly as twice as long as the forelegs. These pipes have been discredited by certain writers, especially Mr. W.H. Henshaw of the Ethnological Bureau. They're discredited by these people. They discredit them. You haters. They hating on the culture. Why would you want to discredit the pipe? Why would you want to discredit the figgy, the pipe, the artwork? What's the point? What's the point? Right? Why would you want to do something like that to something so amazing and something so beautiful? Right, what else? Yeah, but they have been defended by Mr. Charles Putnam, the president of the Davenport Academy, and are endorsed by the members of the Academy at the present time. In favor of the geniuses of the pipes, we may say that during the same year of the discovery of the elephant pipe, the bones and tusks of an elephant were found in Washington County, Iowa, and were reported in the proceedings of the Davenport County Academy. These bones were about 6 feet below the surface in the black mud sediment and vegetable mold. They seem to have been quite a recent deposit, and the elephant or mastodon which was buried here may have been the very one which was represented in the pipe. And check out this tablet though. This sun and moon. Right, with the Phoenician script. The Davenport tablet. Sun and moon with the Phoenician script. The Hebraic or Phoenician script. But you got the sun and the moon though. That'll throw people off, right? For those who know. But this right here in America, this is found in America. In America. In this connection, we would speak of the location of the mounds which contain the pipes and the tablets. It is the general opinion that those mounds which were erected on upper terraces were the older, that those upon the lowland were the later. Some writers have maintained that the first class were erected when the water filled the entire valleys and covered the first terrace. If that were the case, then the earlier mound builders must have been acquainted with the mastodon and other animals of that class. The mound which contained the elephant pipe was situated upon the bluffs far above the plain. This is significant. It may be that the elephant pipe was deposited in this mound on the bluff at a time when Muscatine Slough and Maridosa Slough were lakes, whose waters flowed near the bluffs, a time where the mastodon was common. Alright, what we got, y'all? We got, what's up? What's this image here? Oh, the squares and the circles. Right, placing the villages and stuff like that, where the mounds and stuff would be at. This is in Ohio. Ohio. Ancient works in Ohio. Yeah, village enclosures. Right, and that's crazy because, like I told y'all in one of the last ones, they using LiDAR. They're using LiDAR now to excavate this stuff here in South America. Right? They need to bring that stuff over here to North America, so we can start really finding out what dwelt here before. Right here we got an Indian encampment at Detroit. Alright. What else we got? And that brings us into chapter 4. Now this is a good one, man. This is a good one. What I like so much about the history of the mound builders is that it gives us a glimpse of what was here in America, right? The beauty, like I said, the beauty that was here in America. Not only the animals, but the artwork, right, let's just take us back real quick. Let's just take us back to this stone right here. Take us back to this stone. Right, real quick. Right, and then we go back into the conquest of Peru and Mexico. Right, the sun and moon worship from Mango Capac, right? Mango and Koyamama told the first people who came about them that they were children of the sun and the moon. This was in South America, Peru. And then when they mentioned Phoenician in here too as well. I just gotta spell the word right. Well, yeah. Same. This is similar to like the same type of tablets they find in South America. Very similar. The Hebraic script, sun and the moon. Takes us to this. Takes us back to the Los Lunas Decalogue Stone. You got this Phoenician script, or this Hebraic script, all over the Americas around the time of the Mound Builders, before Christ and all that, BC with dates like that and all that, here in America. So what does this say about history and religion? Right, well, let me say one thing. This stuff existed before any European could have found his way here to America. Rather, even if a Phoenician brought it from the Middle East to America, or whether they were already here in America, it was here before any European indoctrination, whatever, European colonization, whatever, it was here already. Which goes to show that these ancient religions, right? These ancient Shemitic and Hamitic and Japhetic, these peoples were here in America. They were here in America. The fact that we even have and I hope they could give this one to me, this temple of Ptolemaico. Yeah, this one. This is the one they called the mosque. Here in Florida, they called this a mosque. And you see the copper colored inhabitants, right? And then the Spaniards is a temple. And in this temple, on the walls of the temple, were Hebraic inscriptions. All of this stuff here in America. Indians rowing their canoes. Beautiful works, man. Beautiful works. This is displaying the truth. I love what I see. This is displaying the truth. Gotta see what book this comes from. Gotta find that. But here it is, though. They have Phoenician script or Hebraic script on the walls inside this temple in Florida. Right, that's one of the language, like this would be, Hebrew would be one of the languages Jesus spoke, right? The language Jesus spoke, allegedly, or whatever, if I'm not mistaken, that's the situation. But it's here in America. All of this stuff here in America before any European stepped foot in America, before they could bring any form of their religion to here in America. When these things were here in America, we still had serpent worship, sun and moon worship, emerald worship, idol worship. Those were the things that were here in America. We had Nephilim, giants, little midgets, people running around eating other people. That's the stuff that was here in America. The American Aborigines, they were out here around this time too. See, these are the type of things that we gotta understand, man. Ancient America, the true old world. We got all the temples, we got the mounds, we got the pyramids, we got to civilize the oldest civilizations. Real quick, right? Before we even conclude this, right? We're gonna look for this book to bring more of that stuff into here, though. But the other temple was that of Ptolemaico, the most spacious edifice in Florida. It was 100 places long, by 40 broad, the roof formed by 6 mats placed over each other, and brilliantly adorned with the shells and pearls. The gate was ornamented with 12 statues of giants in full armor, and all round the interior of the walls were ranged statues of men and women of the ordinary size, the men completely armed. The intendants of the Spanish monarch were proceeding to levy his fifth upon the pearls and other precious articles found in the temple, a measure which was stopped by Soto on the presence that they could not consume themselves with such a burden, but doubtless from the well-grounded fear of provoking hostility of the natives. But this temple, though, in Ptolemaco, we're gonna read about this. This is from Hernando de Soto's voyages through Florida. We're gonna read about this stuff, man. The temple, though, this is full-blown Tartarian. The giants in full armor. 12 statues of giants in full armor. Could the 12 statues represent the 12 lost tribes? Something to think about, right? But here in America, when De Soto got here, that's what they saw in Ptolemaco. That's what they saw in Ptolemaco. Right? Like I said, man, we gonna conclude this bad boy. We went crazy tonight. I'm not even gonna lie. This mound builder stuff, man, I'm telling y'all, is super duper interesting. Right? The information that you find out about the country that we live in, the diversity, right? What was going on before they changed everything? They changed everything, right? What existed here before, right? What was the deal? What was the situation? What did the world look like? Who was in charge, right? What was the agricultural scene like, right? The temples, right? The stories, right? The quote unquote mysteries, all of that stuff. Here in America. Here in America, man. I hope y'all enjoyed this one, man. Mound Builders, Works, and Relics. The Builders and the Mastodons. Right, we learned a lot from this one. This one gave us a lot of good information. A lot of insight. I appreciate those who tuned in. Thank you, my brother. I appreciate you. I appreciate you. Don't forget to tune in next week. We're going to be dropping some more fire. We're going to bring a good, interesting one to the channel for that one, man. We're going to jump back into the conquest of the Mongols of the Americas. Or we might just take a dive into Hernando de Soto's voyage of the Americas. Right? So many different stories and that we could go through, that we could talk about, right? That just give us more and more information to feed off of, right? Us as copper colored people, right? A part of us connecting back to our roots is just feeding off of this information and using it as fuel. As fuel. This is power. I appreciate you, Fox and Socks, my brother, to the end. Right? But this is fuel. This will help you get through. This is supposed to help you get through. Understanding the truth. Like some of the very many great things that you can come from. That your people created. All of that slave ship chains and gates and locked up and not knowing how to read, right? Man, dub all that. Your ancestors was putting Hebraic scripts on rocks and whatnot. Yeah, hit the IG. Hit the IG. Don't forget. I'm here. 100%. We locked in till the end. Y'all my copper colored people, man. My copper colored brothers and sisters. I got nothing but love for y'all. We gonna rock this all the way through to the end, and we gonna continue to share information, put people on, right? Build this beautiful, amazing community. All right. You got it. You with the tribe, man. You with the tribe. We in this bad boy, man. I appreciate y'all. Like I said, man, stay in tune for the next one. Next week we going crazy. We're gonna bring some fire to the channel. Right? We're gonna bring some fire to the channel, man. Copper Color King, man. We out of here. Love y'all.